Welcome to Malaga and continuing YouTube coverage of the second Global Photonics Economic Forum. On October 7th and 8th, 2025, Optica gathered the world's most influential executives together. Here's the complete version of one of the 8 keynotes. Enjoy. Our next keynote at this year's Global Photonics Economic Forum will be given by Michael Klug, Director of Optical Hardware at Google. Michael guides teams developing cutting-edge consumer technologies that are shaping our future. Today, Michael will explore the transformative impact of photonics on how we live, work, learn, and connect with technology. He'll demonstrate how photonics enables AI helpfulness, creating consumer products that enrich our lives. Google has demonstrated innovation in AndroidXR, light field displays, and new wearables, from fully immersive experiences to all-day glasses. These advancements highlight how the synergy of software and hardware innovation is placing photonics at the heart of human-machine interaction. Michael will also emphasize why governments and public leaders must acknowledge photonics as a foundational element for the future of our society. Please join me in welcoming Michael Klug.
Hey everybody, good to see you all here. Thank you, Jose, for a wonderful conference. This has got to be, I think we got to give a hand to this conference, this team. They're the most friendly, helpful team I've ever encountered in a conference. So let's give them a round of applause. I mean, it's just amazing. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about photonics for AI glasses or smart glasses. And, my background goes back about 40 years in not all in AR, but certainly in display and visualization and technologies. And the last 12 have been specifically in AR glasses and goggles and headsets. I want to talk to you today about developing optical components for this, what I'd call the new media platform of the future, and for consumers. So it's a little bit of a departure and everything else you've heard today, which has been a little bit more in other realms. But we see this extended reality as kind of the future for consumer devices. So, but let me start with a story. Recently, I was in Florence on a bike ride, and I wanted to ride in the surrounding area, so I made a plan. I pre-mapped the routes. I was using a navigation app. But I also needed to maintain awareness of my surroundings. Anybody who's ridden in a strange place knows how important that is. Within the city, there are all sorts of hazards, cobblestones. They have some really amazing cobblestones there in Florence. Tram tracks. There's trams, there's traffic, there's chaotic traffic, especially in the morning. There's scooters, motorcycles, everything. And of course, there were plenty of signs that I couldn't read. And so that was a problem. And even with my phone mounted on my handlebar, I had to shift my gaze from looking out on the street to down in my handlebar. And that was just really unacceptable. So there were cultural norms like, is this a good gesture? Is a horn honk a friendly one? I don't know, right? So this is all new to me, Also, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any sights, but I found out later that the route didn't take me just a few more yards to the Machiavelli imprisonment site. Like, who wouldn't want to see that? So, and then finally, the weather. The weather is super important when you're on a bike, and there was kind of a rainy time, and so I was a little bit concerned. And sure enough, right, halfway through the ride, a cloud burst. My phone stopped working because I couldn't use the touch screen, right? And I'm stuck somewhere. I don't know where to go. Okay, so that's my situation. And, the key here is, what can I do? What did I need to make that a better situation? I needed to keep my eyes on the road. and I needed to keep my hands on the handlebars. This is what I needed, right? At the same time, and I needed to receive up-to-date visual information and audio directions in my line of sight. That's what I needed. And especially up to the moment tracking of the weather. That would have been really helpful. This is a term I used to call, because I used to work in the defense industry as well, situational awareness. But you need situational awareness in this kind of environment as well, and also navigation. So situational awareness is what I needed. I also needed to, of course, why was I there? To satisfy my curiosity. I was in a new place. I wanted to experience the culture. I wanted to experience the sights, right? That's why I was doing this. And finally, it would have been really great to have a set of microphones and cameras on my head, feeding information back to an AI agent that could anticipate and warn me of challenges, and also let me know what I'm missing, what I could just divert a little ways off my path to see. And that would have made a more pleasurable and also safer experience. And, also cue me into those cultural cues I was talking about. So this theme of awareness and curiosity, these are the key words here. I mean, these are fundamental human traits and needs. It's about getting information you want, when you want it, and when you need it. And that's really what Google does, as we all know. All of you have experience satisfying your curiosity by Googling things, right? And of course, you also navigate with awareness using tools like Google Maps, okay? That is Google's core mission. So we've developed platforms like Android to take the world's information to you wherever you are. If you're in your living room, if you're in your car, if you're on your watch, and of course, last but not least, of course, is your phone. It comes to you through this hardware. So we make software, but it comes to you through the hardware. And we now serve more than 3 billion consumer devices worldwide. Then, almost a year ago, we announced the newest addition to Android called AndroidXR. And I'm going to let a video tell you the story about AndroidXR because it does a hell of a lot better than I do. So let's watch this now.
Why would you say now is the right moment to launch XR?
Yeah, so for pretty much the history of computing, we've been using the rectangular box of a screen display. Whether it's monitors, laptops, tablets, or phones, XR has the power to extend beyond those boundaries.
I think now is the perfect time to work on XR because you have a convergence of all these technologies, and Gemini is key to powering Android XR. The underlying technology allows us to process inputs from all different kinds of signals, much like we process the real world.
The magical thing about XR is that it's moving computing to a place that's truly as natural as you can imagine it.
AndroidXR is our new platform for headsets and glasses. It offers some of the best tools for developers to use, and it reduces a lot of the friction.
We've been in this space since Google Glass, and we have not stopped. Things like AR Core, the Geospatial API, Lens, Live View, Translate, and now Gemini.
We can take those experiences, which already work great, and find new ways to be helpful for people.
When we talk about headsets and glasses, we think about headsets as episodic products that you put on for a specific reason.
When you're watching the game, Gemini could break down everything about Freddy's Grand Slam.
This is the most visceral incarnation of any 3D space or spatial environment you can think of.
I can't wait to spatialize old videos. It'll feel like you're right in your memories again.
And then we think about glasses as all-day products that you use to get value throughout your day.
Our technology really enables us to shrink down the displays that go into the glasses.
We'll see more of these highly portable devices that will more and more look like the ones I'm wearing right now.
With glasses, you'll feel like you're a local, no matter where you are.
There's no way we could build this platform other than collaborating very closely. We've been working with Samsung for a number of years. And so we look for opportunities where we could really marry each other's strength in creating something new.
From software and UX to hardware, Cross-functional partners across both companies have worked seamlessly around the clock as one team to build a powerful XR platform.
We've learned that we can build the best platforms with an ecosystem of developers, designers, and device makers.
A lot of deep collaboration happens for us to bring the best solution to the ecosystem, to the platform, and to the users.
Alone, you can go fast, but together you can go far.
And the only way we'll get there is if we build this together.
Well, there you go. Build this together. You've heard this theme repeatedly over the course of the day. And really, that's what we've done with AndroidXR, and that's what we look to do with the community of component suppliers and, frankly, device suppliers out in the world, is to be able to build together great new media platforms. So we built it with, obviously experts from both hardware and software, working together to make a consistent experience across these different devices, across video see-through headsets, optical see-through headsets, AR glasses, and what we would call in a category called AI glasses, okay? So Android fits across all of these and gives you a consistent function. The largest consumer wearable market today is anticipated to be on the right side here in smart eyewear. We made up what headsets look like, these things, from scratch. Those didn't exist before, but smart eyewear is derivative of something we all know very well. Half of you in the room are wearing them. These are eyeglasses, right? And at Google, we need to make sure that we have a full ecosystem ready to supply all the components for these smart glasses. We developed reference designs for some of these glasses, and you saw some in the intro video clip that brought me up here. We know that we have to produce these reference designs first to develop the software, but then it's up to others to actually make the devices themselves. We make software. That's what Google does. And so that's really, our role is to help to create this ecosystem and really fertilize that ecosystem and make it work well for everybody. Since we want to deliver new experiences to the consumer through eyewear, we must recognize the fundamental and primary purpose for these glasses, which is to correct our vision. We can't inhibit that in whatever product that we produce. So this is a bit of a challenge. We're going to add a bunch of tech to the thing that's on your head, and we're going to not let that tech hurt what it needs to do primarily, which is correct your vision. We also recognize that humans are vain animals. And, like my wife wouldn't wear my glasses, right? So we care about what's on our face, and we care about comfort. This is about personal identity. And then on the device side, we have to meet the persistent human needs that we talked about earlier. Communication, learning, translation, navigation. These are things that you need to move smoothly through your day, every day, and all day. In the context of smart eyewear, there is a critical need for domain convergence between these areas in order to produce effective products. Why? Because there are intrinsic trade-offs and opportunities between these areas that designers, style makers, and engineers, and, by the way, operating system developers, Google, must be aware of. We see this as where lenses, looks, and logic converge. The industries that represent these areas are consumer electronics, eyeglasses, and fashion. While fashion and glasses have a long history of interaction and co-development, there is very little interaction between consumer electronics world and either glasses or fashion. Your phone, it goes in your pocket. It doesn't sit on your face. And so there hasn't been a big need to think about fashion so much for these, right? These are these interfaces that you see in the red up here. These are interfaces across which we need to co-develop for success in consumer markets. And this need extends beyond design and, of course, into manufacturing. In the eyeglasses world, every product is custom because every consumer has a different prescription and taste. The industry has developed a fulfillment process for that, and we just need to be aware of that. In the consumer electronics industry, on the other hand, the drive has long been to minimize variance. In hardware and operating systems, in order to manage these manufacturing logistics, the development and field support costs, everything that's associated with variation in consumer electronics is really to be avoided. And so in making smart glasses, half will have no prescription, like sunglasses, but will need stylistic variation, and the other half will need both of those things. So we really need to learn how to span this fulfillment gap, and it will require work from both sides. How is this all relevant to you, photonics and finance leaders? Your companies must have awareness of what is important in the eyeglass industry and the fashion industry. So we already talked about the defense industry, but here's a whole nother area that you need to develop some knowledge and understanding of. You also have to actively search for designs and manufacturing models that span the gap between these two industries. It will likely mean high mix, low volume in the supply chain and manufacturing processes. And this is antithetical to maybe what you're used to in consumer electronics. There is a precedent, maybe one that some of you know firsthand, and it's on the face of cars as opposed to people. For many years, headlights had a single incandescent bulb, internal reflectors, lenticulated glass lenses, right? Designers had to accommodate engineering limitations within the car aesthetics as best that they could. The primary goal was the fundamental function of safely lighting the road ahead. In the 1990s, high-intensity discharge lamps emerged, along with broader spectra, precision plastic molded and coated optics, and integrated module housings. This represented the beginnings of a true sort of interaction between the optical designers and the manufacturing experts and the car designers to create a new look with new functionality. This was a move into what I'd call co-optimization with the design and made it possible to wrap the headlight around the corner of the car and make it intrinsic to the design. And now, finally, we have LEDs, and LEDs open up a whole slew of new capability because now we can put the optics, micro optics, micro lenses, all integrated within the very bright, very tiny light sources themselves, and we can distribute them in completely new and creative ways. Now we see design co-evolving with engineering together. So a designer says, I want a certain light signature on the car, and the engineers can easily take these tools and integrate them to produce something that is truly unique for every design, right? So I think that this is an interesting analogy to what we need to do now with wearables, only they're on your face. So in smart glasses, there are photonic modules that offer some level of customization, while retaining some amount of standardization. Now, first thing we have to know is that smart glasses have a stack of optics, not just one lens, right? So this is already a departure from standard eyeglasses. We call this stack of optics here the display subsystem. There's a projector with a pixel source, a combiner, usually in the form of a waveguide. There's a, which takes that projected information and puts it into the line of sight of the user. There's a lens to correct the user's vision and a cover lens to protect the combiner and keep that aesthetic curvature of what we've come to expect from glasses, right? They all have a slight curvature. So first of all, combiners need to be more efficient. They need to be made out of materials that are lighter weight, and they need to do that without compromising uniformity and clarity. The integrated ophthalmics also need to be somehow integrated in the fulfillment path in a smooth way. Today, you go and bring your prescription into an eyeglass manufacturer. They integrate that. It comes back to you in a couple of weeks. And we need to have a similar path developed for this ophthalmic, and the ophthalmic needs to be able to fit into whatever the device is that we're creating. We're interested in switchable dimming, switchable tinting. Why are we interested in that? Because we're producing an image in your line of sight, and we no longer have the nice black background that this thing provided. So contrast immediately goes right down. There's nothing you can do about that except to dim the background. And to have an active dimmer when you go out into bright, sunny conditions is something that's very attractive. That dimmer needs to be very light. It needs to be coated on a polymer substrate. It needs to have a curvature. So these are things that we're very interested in. There's eye tracking systems that need to be able to fit within the rim of the glasses, be unobtrusive, because if I know where your eyes are looking, that can help me with my operating system and what I need to provide to you next. This whole stack fits together. It all compresses down, hopefully into a very thin layer, right? And we need to be able to position these things relative to each other to allow for face wrap and pantoscopic tilt. These are terms that are used in the eyeglass industry to describe basically how the glasses are tilted with respect to your face and how they curve around your head. Right? These are things that just you've got them on your head right now and you've worn sunglasses, you know exactly how this is. But these are things that we really need that flexibility, and we need technologies that allow that kind of flexibility in these stacks. If we look at it from the front, basically, I think there's an opportunity here also to look at where the camera and projectors sit, which happen to be pretty close to almost on top of each other, okay, over there in the temple. That means that the projector and the camera need to be really small, which means if we can find a way to combine those things in some way, that would be very interesting, right? Because that's how you're going to get to a really compact solution. The other kind of final problem here is that eyeglasses come in many, many shapes and sizes. And so we really need to think about, instead of just doing lithography on wafers and everything comes out standard in terms of size and shape, we really need to think about being able to shape the final combiner element to serve a bunch of different rim profiles and thicknesses, because that's flexibility. That's how the eyeglass industry works today. So what I see here is, an opportunity really to accommodate this domain convergence. And here's how I think it needs to be done. These are very basic rules. I think, first of all, it's important for all of you to learn the language of these adjacent spaces of eyeglass and fashion in order for you to be able to, communicate with the people in those spaces. It's important to communicate to them. It's also important to be curious and aware of eyewear and fashion in general, everything that they need. Actively tap into expertise in those spaces. Everything about manufacturing, testing, fulfillment, and field maintenance is going to be different for this device, because the eyeglass world, they do all these things differently. And I think these are things that we all have to be conscious of. You can use tools, new tools, even like AI tools, like Gemini, to help to gain understanding and explore these interrelationships as a start. But it's not the end goal. Ultimately, we need to engage directly. And finally, I think it's important to incentivize your teams to and encourage your engineering teams to seek this kind of cross-functional relationship. Product managers, engineering teams all should be having conversations with people in the fashion and eyewear industry in order to understand where they're coming from and hopefully develop the components that are necessary for this to be successful. So again, we come back to awareness and curiosity, because they're fundamentally what we need to be able to develop successful consumer smart glasses. So I encourage you and your colleagues to be curious and aware in order to make products that serve the curious and aware. And help me stay dry. Thank you. Gracias a todos.
Gracias, Michael, for a great presentation.
De nada, gracias.
Many people want to ask questions. You've been one of the highlights of the event so far in terms of collaboration. Please remind us your name and company.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Stefan Prinz. I'm from Delo Industrial Adhesives. Okay. On events like this, let's say 2 years ago, AR used to be one of the main themes of discussion. Now, after 8 hours, you're the first one to mention it on stage. And the discussion seems to be all around co-packaged optics.
Right.
What happened?
I don't know, Jose, what happened? No, I think there are many venues in which AR is covered and discussed, and we know all this. I think what we're trying to point out here is really how component developers like yourselves and technology developers like yourselves, the companies that you lead, can contribute and participate in this space, and how that has profound impact. How you integrate and how you work with these other companies has a profound impact at kind of the strategic level. And so I think that's my reason for being here. I don't know. Maybe you have...
Let me rephrase your question, because it's a very good question. You cannot get out that easy. Good. So 7 years ago, you were the vice president of advanced photonics at Magic Leap.
Yes.
If on that day I would have asked you, in 7 years, what would be the deployment of augmented reality? Would you tell me that we would be here, beyond, or below?
Oh, that's okay. That's a different question, but I'm good with that question. It's a great question. I was very surprised. Magically, we were developing fully immersive, more like the headsets, the stuff you saw on the left side, right? And we had huge dreams for that. And everybody kind of remembers Magic Leap, this unicorn, raised a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. And we made amazing products, 2 products that came out, and it was incredible. But the world wasn't ready for that at the consumer level. It wasn't just about the hardware. It's also about the operating system. And so, it really took this journey to get to, an operating system company like Google, and to look at all the tools that could be brought to bear in a pair of glasses, and also a pair of glasses that's really pared down to information, information glasses rather than fully immersive glasses to start with. That's where we have to go. And the other key thing really is AI, because without AI, you don't really have a great way to interact with the glasses. And you need to do that without your hands, which means you need to have an interface that can just hear and interpret what you're saying and give you feedback immediately. And that's really a key. And so, did I know we were going to be here? No, not exactly. I thought we'd be further along, but I don't feel bad about it, because I think now we have the right thing.
Final question. Google is a software company.
Yep.
Let's say it's a software company.
Yeah. Right.
So all the hardware that you've been presenting, you don't do yourself.
That's right.
Is there any room for collaboration here? Anything we can help you with?
100%. I mean, as I said, we're developing an ecosystem. We developed our own hardware as reference designs just to develop the software for the operating system. But our intent really is to work with all of you and others, right? You saw Samsung portrayed there, because really this is where the hardware that's going to host our operating system is going to run. And so it's all about that kind of collaboration. Unlike other companies, we're not being proprietary about this, even like Magic Leap. I'll speak for myself and my old company, because really it's about enabling the ecosystem, and you all are part of that. So,
Michael, thank you very much for coming to Malaga. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Gracias.
Thanks for watching this keynote. If you found it useful, please comment below, repost, subscribe to this channel, and save the date for next year, when we return to Malaga at the same time as ECOP.